This is my dive on the USS Oriskany off of Pensacola, Florida. We were diving with H2O below dive charters. The overview of this dive is that we were going to travel down the Escalator. We were also going to visit CIC on the second deck. From there, we were going to make our way to the props, and that's where Carlos had a nice encounter with a tiger shark. After the props, we make our way back to the island, where we are going to focus on the flag bridge at the 05 level, as well as the navigation bridge at the 06 level. I'll get into more detail of each step of that plan and then show you the video that accompanies it. So to start off, the Escalator, H2O below dive charters tied us into the island, more on the stern side of the island. At that point, we're going to drop down on the port side or the flight deck side of the ship and the island, and we're going to enter a door that's going to lead us into the escalator. We're then going to travel down the escalator, and this is what that looks like. So I should say that if you're looking for an entertaining video about diving the Oriskany, this probably isn't it. This is the video that I'm looking for when I'm making my personal dive plan. I want to see as much of the wreck as possible. I want to look for opportunities to penetrate into the wreck, opportunities to get out of the wreck. I just really want to see the wreck, as much of it as possible. And that's the video that I'm producing here. So I left a lot of video in this that probably should have been edited out, unless you're trying to see as much of the wreck as possible. One of the things to note here is that the door you're looking to go into is the second door from the bow of the ship, second door from the front. If you just poke your head in and look around, it's a little deceiving, or at least it was for me, as to where you enter to get to the escalator from that door. But trust yourself, trust this video, it is in fact that second door. So here I am just confirming that this was in fact the second door that I had marked on the video. And yes, it is. There was the first door from the bow of the ship. I'm now turning around so that I am now heading stern. There's that second door up there. And here I am checking it out. It actually shows up on camera a little better than it did to my naked eye at the time. So I've entered that door and into this room, and there in the back right corner is another doorway leading to the escalator. I had two cameras. One is mounted to my scooter, which is the camera I stay on most of the time because it's a better shot. The other camera is mounted to my signaling, or my primary light there that you can see in the shot. That is also my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, and so that camera is moving all around, all over the place every time I'm doing anything with my dominant hand, and that camera is just a disaster much of the time. I'm still trying to figure out how to mount that camera effectively, and on my primary light is not an effective way to mount that camera, not an effective place. It's too much crazy that happens with that movement. So here we are exiting the wreck, and we're now going to make a U-turn to our right and enter the doorway of the trash room. And here's the deck plans that show the next step of this dive. So again, we've made our way down the escalator. We've made a U-turn to our right and are entering the trash or burner room doors. This is the hangar bay. We've entered the trash room doors. We're going to make our way just slightly left to the 110 cutout, and that is where we're going to stage our DPVs. At that 110 cutout, we're going to drop down to the second deck, which is where CIC's at. We're going to place a strobe or two, and then we're going to enter the door just a little bit to our left and hang out in CIC for a while. All right, so here's the exterior, entering the trash and burner room doors. As you can see, there are some wires and cabling that are hanging down. Make sure you don't get caught up on those. But for the most part, it's a pretty easy passage in for a properly trained and experienced diver. And here we are in the hangar bay. There's the stanchions to the 110 cutout. And we're going to store our scooters here for a bit. And this is where I am going to make a cut because it was just a whole lot of garbled video. As I descended down one deck to the second deck, which is where CIC is located. Since it's only my camera mounted to my primary light on my dominant hand, you can see this looks like I'm an absolute disaster. But right here is that door, just slightly to the left of CIC of the 110 cutout. And that's the door that you take that leads into CIC. We've placed a couple of strobes on the line. You can see there's a nice line run already. We're just going to follow that line through CIC, taking our time. Although in hindsight, I wish I would have spent more time enjoying this spot, but there's always the next dive. And that was CIC. You can see our strobes here marking the door that leads out. There's a nice line, but we like to have a backup. And as I said, in hindsight, I wish I would have spent a little more time here and enjoyed all of the equipment in there more than we actually did. There's a second strobe that was placed real close to the 110 cutout. It's always revealing. It's always relieving to see those strobes. A little sense of relief as you realize, yep, I'm at the right place. And there's the cutout heading up back into the hangar bay. All right, so as we ascend to the hangar bay at the 110 cutout, we're going to pick up our DPVs and we're going to make our way toward the stern of the ship as well as toward the starboard side. And we're going to exit out the deck edge elevator number 3. And right around that area, we're going to look and find the winch platform. And here's what that looks like. So here we are back in the hangar bay. I heard one dive buddy describe the hangar bay as an empty, abandoned Walmart, which is pretty accurate. A lot of open space, but still some debris strewed about here and there. But we are making our way to the stern, to the back end of the ship here. And coming up here on the left is the elevator that would take airplanes up and down to the actual flight deck. And here we are exiting the ship. And that triangle type thing you see there is the winch platform. That hole in it toward the outside point of the triangle is the boat and airplane crane king post, according to the deck plans, and that is a great visual marker. If you descend and move your way stern or toward the back of the ship from this point, you're going to land at the propellers. And there's an edit for the sake of time. You can see some propeller there in the background. There's my buddy Carlos. He's going in for a closer look. And guess what he finds? Not just propellers, but a nice tiger shark. Carlos stands his ground, and let's see how that turns out. Carlos has a theory that the shark was intrigued by the electrical hums and noises that his DPV was making because it kept coming closer and closer to check it out. Now, Carlos tells me he in no way touched the shark, but right there you saw the shark flinch a bit. And apparently what happened there was the shark ran into an object that was sticking out of the sand. And that's what actually startled the shark, but Carlos did not touch the shark in any way. So after enjoying the propellers, or probably more so in this case the shark, Carlos started ascending again. We're making our way back up to the flight deck and just checking out some cutouts in the side of the ship here, as we do. Future things to check out for sure. There's all kinds of stuff on this wreck. I don't know how many dives you'd have to have on this wreck before you felt like you saw the whole thing. Absolutely beautiful shipwreck. But as it was not part of our dive plan to go in and check these areas out, we were sticking to our plan, which in hindsight proved to be a bit more conservative than we needed to be. But if you're going to err, that's probably the right side to err on. Just taking our time, meandering up to the flight deck. And I make an edit here as we are scootering back to the island, simply because the flight deck pretty much looks exactly like this the whole way, at least the path that we took. So there was the edit. You can see the island coming up there in the distance. So as we make our way to the island, we're going to be focusing on the 05 level, which is the flag bridge, as well as the 06 level, the navigation bridge, kind of focusing on the pilot house and the flag bridge. And this is the part of the dive that we didn't plan out so much. We just knew that we were going to spend some time here playing around because our dive planning told us that we really could spend some time here without incurring much more deco because we were off-gassing. And so that's what we did. And we're just exploring around, having fun, zipping in and out of passageways and doorways and whatever else. And it was a great time. In hindsight, what we wish we would have done, and in truth, we talked about this, but not enough for me to have remembered as I was leading the dive. Instead of making our way straight back to the island, we should have circled the flight deck of the Oriskany. We were on DPVs, and we could have done that very easily. And wish we would have done that to just see the overall grandeur of the ship and see it in its entirety, or at least the flight deck portion of it. But I forgot that step, and we spent a little more time on the island and had a great time. If you're familiar with Barry Shively's work with Below 130 Diving, and he puts out some outstanding videos on Vimeo, which Vimeo is not as easy to find content as YouTube is, but at vimeo.com/Mr. X Ray, you will find Barry's videos. And when you watch them, you'll realize that I very much copied his style and his format for putting out these videos. Barry and I actually dived together the same weekend. We were diving a cave in cave country. And I told him, I said, I hope you agree that me copying your work is the greatest form of flattery, and me copying your dive plan is the greatest form of flattery. And he totally did. Barry and I have known each other for a few years. He's an outstanding diver. And if you're wanting to learn technical diving, Barry is a great instructor, at least so I hear. I've never taken a class from him myself, but a buddy of mine has, and he said that he was just a great instructor. And knowing Barry, that doesn't surprise me at all. Barry and I have been able to dive with each other a few times, and every time has been a good experience. And if you're looking for a guide for an Oriskany dive, Barry is the first person I would call, and I wouldn't consider anyone else unless they came recommended from Barry. So I'll link to his page below. He's Below 130 Diving, Barry Shively, and there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're looking to make your own dive plans on the Oriskany, I hope it was helpful to you. I ask that you not dive beyond your training and comfort levels, because this is serious diving, what you just watched, and you need to treat it as such. Anyway, that will do it for me. Enjoy the rest of the video as we're swimming around the island, and enjoy your day.